Hi, my name is Trevor Hancock. I wrote and directed the short film Camp Ripley, and this is the behind the scenes. This was a submission for the Jacob Owens Short Horror Film Contest 2020. This is the brainchild of Matt Dickstein and I, and we put a lot of love and work into this. It's just such a beautiful marriage because it combines Matt Dickstein's brilliant DP work and my nostalgia-fueled goggles.
His style tends to be kind of that aesthetically colorful, very synthy. So he's like, I'd really love to do like a throwback to like the 80s, which is like kind of the golden age of a certain type of horror films. So I was like, you know, excited when he asked me to like DP again, because I was like, oh, this is like a chance to like really sink my teeth into something visually.
And the original concept was we were gonna shoot in an arcade, and me and Matt like kind of searched for some arcades, but ultimately it was a dead end. It was so hard to get an arcade.
We set our sights on like a camp.
I met Hank on Facebook. I called him up and I was like, hey, I'd really like to use your cabin. And he was so gracious to let us shoot there for free, and it was just the most perfect location I've ever seen in my life.
As I bought it 3 years ago to use for me and anyone in the community that could make a use for it, and I thought, hey, if mine will work, that would be a cool way to use it.
I'm Denise Belden and I play Annie. I'd like to call her a final girl.
I just loved like strong women, especially in the 80s, and Ellen Ripley was one of them, which is where the name Camp Ripley came from.
Get away from her, you bitch!
I love 80s horror. It's one of my favorite genres. Taking from that, but also some modern female characters that are really strong too.
Denise just kind of has that look to her. She looks really sweet and innocent, but also she looks like she can stand her ground and not take anything from anyone.
The character that I'm playing is Jake. He is a camp counselor here. He is one of the older camp counselors. He's been here for a long time.
So Jake is one of my favorite characters I've ever made in any of my films. He's a mixture of Steve Harrington, Star-Lord, and Han Solo.
You aren't acting like a scoundrel.
I love that he's kind of immature, but he's also like cool, and you're like, man, I kind of want to be him. So I wanted a guy that looked confident and could carry himself. And my buddy Cody Glover, who I went to high school with, he was always the lead character in every play that we did. I needed a good leading man, and I think Cody was a good choice.
There's nothing here. It was a lot of trying to make it realistic in the sense that it was as close to myself as I could make it, but to kind of draw out those less than good quality aspects of a person.
Cody just does the whole scene. I always like the idea of just like a hulking figure like taking on and battling out with these people that are more relatable, because it's such a terrifying force. You see these people on screen and you're like, yeah, they look like they can handle themselves, but then you see Stubs and you're like, oh, I don't know if this is gonna end well or not. This might be an artistic choice, but I like Brock. Brock was just sitting in the corner. The last year for the Jacob Owens Short Horror Film Contest, Brock was actually in that film as one of the masked figures. I just remember looking through all the footage, and everyone did a great job, but Brock in particular, I could tell he just like really embodied that character. I was like, I think Brock, we should give him a shot to play a bigger role.
So I'm playing Stubs, the boogeyman of the picture. I'm basically a slasher villain. Wear a spooky mask. I don't like seeing, teenagers hanging out around these woods, smoking reefer, getting up to all kinds of trouble. And someone's got to teach them a lesson. It's gonna be me.
He does his research, like he really got into the character.
Trevor told me, like, kind of imagine Michael Myers, but make it your own thing. So I'm trying to just give that sort of sense that I'm in control, I'm the predator, and nobody can stop me.
Trevor is a blast. Like, he's super passionate. I know how it feels to like direct and like be really proud of like your work. I'm really proud of him.
The entire process of making this, I felt like a kid on Christmas morning. Just every day I was working on it, I was like, yes, this is it. This is exactly what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to make these nostalgic films that make people feel like a kid again.
I am really excited to bring a nostalgic story that has some intensity to it, as well as some sweet moments.
I think it's going to turn out great. I have faith in Trevor, and from what I've seen so far, it seems like it's going pretty well.
I think it's going to be a killer.
Nice.